What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast. It comes out every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We try to do this live as much as possible. I know we took the week off last week because we were in Colorado at Texas Toast Guitars and we were building strats and teaching people to wind pickups. So thanks for your patience and not hearing a show from us last week. That kind of just threw off a little bit of what we were doing. And yeah, so it's pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked to be back, and we shipped out a bunch of stuff today. We're shipping out a bunch of stuff tomorrow and staying pretty caught up. So that's pretty cool. It's the first time I've actually been able to pull off one of these trips to Colorado without being ridiculously behind. So we kind of planned better this time, and it all worked out pretty well. Pretty stoked. For those of you that are new to the channel, we talk about guitar stuff. We have video come out on Monday, podcast on Tuesday, live stream on Thursday, and this week we're going to have a couple extra videos too, so we're working on some stuff. And so for those of you that would like to support the channel, there's always Patreon. Where's that thing right here? Somewhere. Anyway, patreon.com/Dylan Talks Tone. And then, of course, the YouTube members, as well as super chats and super thanks and all that kind of stuff. And you can go to DylanTalksTone.com and you can buy pickups. That's the real way to support the channel. So, one of the things I want to talk about today is if you don't change your strings, are you a real guitar player? It's an interesting question. There's a lot of memes and such about, I thought you were a real man, but then I realized you didn't change your own strings or whatever. And off the first rip, first of all, if you have any questions about guitar stuff at all, put a bunch of question marks in front of it, put it in the chat, and I'll try to answer it. Whether that's from the video that came out this week or whatever, it's fine. You can put that in the chat and I'll try to answer it. I will also drop what I'm doing and use a super chat. If you use a super chat, I'll drop what I'm doing and answer it right away. So this changing strings thing is interesting. I was doing some research. There's a couple things that made me think of this video. One of them is, I've been to Texas Toast Guitars now, I don't know, 8 or 9 times for their guitar building workshops. And there are all different skill levels of folks that come to those things, right? And a lot of them really love guitars. Well, that's why they're there, because they really like guitar stuff. They can think it's cool. And so they're building a guitar from scratch. They start with a block of wood and they end up with a guitar at the end of the week. So this is not like throwing a parts caster together. This is real stuff. Fretwork, shaping necks, shaping bodies, winding pickups. We teach them to wind pickups. It gets down to the setup on Friday morning, usually Thursday night or Friday morning, depending on how the week is going. Again, like I said, I've been about 9 of these things now. And some guys don't know how to put strings on their guitar. And it surprised me at first. Leslie and I were talking about this. It surprised me at first. I was like, these guys don't know how to use safety post tuners. They don't know how to use locking tuners properly. They don't know how to put strings on a guitar. Which means they must have somebody else change their strings. Maybe they take them to a tech and they change their strings on their guitars. And I know I've seen memes about it, and I know people make fun of it and stuff. And it seems like a really simple skill, right? Like we have lots of videos about guitar stuff. We have a lot of videos. So anyways, then I'm doing some research for another video, the guitar setup video that came out yesterday. And I have a couple of tools that I use that help me understand like what's popular on YouTube right now, what people are searching for, that kind of stuff. And one of the top things that's being searched for on YouTube right now is how to put strings on a Telecaster or a Stratocaster with safety post tuners. To me, that's the most basic thing ever. But apparently, a lot of folks don't know how to do that. Is that bad? I don't think so. Leslie and I were talking about it, and we're trying to figure out, okay, so who are the few kinds of people? Are you really a guitar player if you don't know how to change your strings or do maintenance on your guitar? Of course, I'm preaching this all the time. I want you to learn this. This is what we do here. But really, and let me know what your thoughts are about this. But I know a lot of folks that are interested in a lot of things, but they don't want to do the tedious stuff. I was just watching a video about Japanese kitchen knives, and they have a service where you send your knife in to sharpen it. Now, okay, I am a nerd about this stuff, and I'm going to buy whetstones, or, I have sharpening equipment, and I sharpen all my own knives because I'm a nerd and I like the stuff. I like to change guitar strings. I actually really enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing guitar setups, so I really like to do it. Some things that I don't like to do. I hate changing oil. I know how to do it, but I pay somebody else to do that now. I just, for many, many years, I was like, I'm going to change my own oil. I'm going to know exactly what's going on with my car. I'm going to wash my car once a week. That way I know where all the dents and scratches are. I just don't care. I'm not saying I don't care. My car is totally clean 100% of the time, except for when I leave it to sit for a week while I'm out of town. But yesterday, the very first thing I did was go have the car cleaned. Got to have a clean car. Says a lot about a man, how clean his car is. So, clean car. But I don't do it. I have somebody else do it because my time is better used doing other things. So, is that the case for guitar maintenance and guitar strings? I see nothing wrong with that. If you're a guy who's like, you know what? I just want to play. I don't care about messing with them. I don't care about any of it. We have a lot of customers who buy pickups, for example, and have them sent to their guitar tech, and they just put them in. They don't want to mess with it. They just want to sound better. But the guitar string thing's interesting because it seems to be the most basic. To me, for me personally, it's like changing my underwear. Like, you got to know how to do that because that's like a basic thing of being alive. So changing strings is a basic thing of being a guitar player. But is it? Because a lot of folks might just not want to mess with it. You know what I mean? So what kind of guitar, what kind of guitar player are you? That's the question. Just kind of curious. Let's see. I'm going to flip through here. I changed my strings. And that's why I have locking tuners. They're just quicker. I agree. See, and people were going to make derogatory jokes, but they're not because of the angle we're taking on this. I don't know how anybody who plays doesn't change their own strings, though I heard way back that Steve Vai didn't know how to until Satriani showed him. I know a lot of very good guitar players who don't even know what they use because their guitar techs do all the work for them, which that's a whole nother level, right, of guitar player. I totally get that. All right. I'm putting locking tuners on all my guitars. I have some lists first. Yeah, locking tuners are awesome. I go so far as to keep a spreadsheet of when I change strings on each guitar, the brand and the gauge of the strings used. Dude, that's the type of nerd level that I am talking about. That's why you're here listening to this channel, because that's kind of the level of it. But it's interesting because I think there's a lot of people who, and there are guitar owners too. You know, there are people who like a guitar because they think it's cool and they play it a little bit, but it's more of a work of art for them. I 100% get that. You know, I mean, I totally understand it. The other thing I don't do anymore is I don't do my own bicycle service. I take it in and have somebody else do it because I don't want to bleed bicycle brakes. I don't want to, whatever. I just pay somebody else to do it. Which is a thing I should probably learn how to. Now I do my own like sag setup and set up my forks and, well, this is a hardtail, so I don't have a rear shock, but I do all that stuff myself. But when it comes to like every season bleeding the brakes and making all those adjustments, I just let somebody else do it now, which, I mean, I know how to do it, but I don't want to mess with it. Yeah, more than one spreadsheet guy. This is pretty cool. If I had the money, I'd pay a tech every time. Let's see. Eddie Jr. Dylan, will intonation change going from 10s to 8s? It will. It can. It can. It depends on the bridge type. It depends on the string height. So like how tall your, how high your action is at the 12th fret. And those are probably the two things that'll affect it the most. So I went from 10s to 8s on my Machine Gun Kelly signature, and it didn't change it at all. I've gone from 10 to 8s on a regular telly, like a regular 3-saddle bridge, and I had to mess with it. So it just kind of depends on the bridge style. It depends on how high your action is. Those are the two things that I would say. That's one thing we didn't mention in that video, is how high your action is can have a lot to do with it, all your measurements. The lower, I hesitate to say this because people think they need low action. Here's an interesting thing about action. Everybody thinks they want low action, but they don't. They actually don't want really low action. Most people want moderate action. Now, most people don't want Fender standard action because Fender standard action is 2 millimeters at the 12th fret, which is freaking ridiculously high. I start everything at 60 thousandths. So 60 thousandths is, I don't know what that is in millimeters. But anyway, 60 thousandths of an inch, maybe 65 on the low E, but 60 thousandths on everything else. Flat, neck relief, 20 thousandths at the nut, 60 thousandths at the 12th fret. Set your intonation. Usually that's low enough to not pull anything out of tune when you're playing. It's not too low where you get fret buzzes and that sort of thing. And most people will be able to pick up my guitar and go, even if they're like, I like my action totally low, unless they're just being a douchebag, because there's those people too. They'll pick up any guitar that they don't own and be like, oh, wow, this action is totally high. No, it isn't. You're just being a douchebag. Most people will pick up my guitars and just be like, oh, wow, this plays really good, and not think about it. Like, to me, that's when a guitar plays well, is when you don't think about how it plays. When you just pick it up and there's nothing to distract you from just playing. And I think 20 thousandths at the nut, 60 thousandths at the 12th fret, with a flat neck will do that 99% of the time for most people. I would say 80% of the time, to be fair. 3% is for the douchebag who thinks every guitar but his is wrong. And then the rest is people that have like specific situations. All that being said, intonation will move when you change string gauges depending on the size. Depending on the setup. But what I would tell you is, anytime you make a change to your guitar, you need to go through the steps. One of the things I didn't want to get too in the weeds with this yesterday, but with yesterday's video, but anytime you change anything on the guitar, tension related, that changes the entire guitar. So if you change string gauges, you change a bunch of things. Okay. You change. So the strings are trying to like bend the guitar this way. The only job, and people overstate what the job of the truss rod is. Matt and I were talking about this last week. People get too bent out of shape about truss rods because you don't really move them that much. Maybe twice a year at the very most, unless you're touring all over the world. Okay. So most people like me and you who have guitars in our office, right? We might touch them twice a year, maybe, but even those guys probably don't need to do it that much on all of their guitars. People do this stuff way too much. So the only job of a truss rod is to counteract the tension of the strings wanting to bend the guitar this way. That's the only job. It's all it is to maintain a negative tension against the strings to keep the neck straight, to keep the guitar flat. That's all it does. No other job. And so when you change the tension of the strings, 8s, 9s, 10s, 7s, 12s, 13s, whatever, you change how much the guitar wants to bend in the middle and how much you have to compensate for that with the truss rod. The other thing you change is when you bend the guitar more or less, you also change the length of the scale, which means you have to change your intonation. When you bend the guitar this way, the strings come up higher, which means you change your string height. Anytime you change tension on the guitar, all of the measurements change. So anytime you change anything on the guitar, go through all the adjustments. It will, once you do it 3 or 4 times, it will take you literally 15 minutes and you will not fight with it. There was some people, there was a guy who was like, in the comments, who was like, well, you can run out of, space if you're going with a really big gauge string and you're going with a really low tuning and the scale length is long and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yes. However, in those situations, you are introducing a condition that the guitar was not designed for. If we're going with relatively normal tuning setups and string gauges, you will not fight with this. It will just be minute adjustments. I adjust the truss rod 2 times a year. For me, when we start using the furnace in the fall and when we stop using it in the spring. Yeah, so that's a humidity related thing in your house. So that means that you have a house that doesn't regulate humidity very well because of your furnace. Totally makes sense. But the thing is I'm fairly certain, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I would pretty much bet on the fact that all you do is move your truss rod this much, right? We're not talking turns and turns, and we're not talking about all kinds of stuff, but you do that. And then, so let's say, in the fall, the guitar dries out, so it shrinks. And when guitars shrink, typically the action comes up because the guitar goes like this and the action comes up. The fretboard goes this way. So probably in the wintertime, you would give it about 1/8 of a turn to the tighten. That would straighten the guitar back out. And then you would not worry about your nut height. You would recheck your string height. And then you would recheck your intonation, and a couple of the strings might be off depending on the diameter. And the whole shooting match, it will take you longer to find the tools to get the truss rod cover off than it will to actually make all those adjustments. It's just not that hard. I just think we need to not overthink this stuff. How can a truss rod work on a neck with reinforcement rods in it? It doesn't seem right. Well, it depends on the neck. So, for example, my MGK guitar, the Machine Gun Kelly signature guitar, has Schecter has carbon fiber rods in it. It depends on the design of the neck. If the neck is it is stiffer, but that doesn't mean that it will not change because there still is wood. It's more stable. So guitars with carbon fiber rods in them, guitars with roasted maple necks, there's certain guitars like that will move less and they will be less susceptible to humidity. But wood's wood. It will still expand and contract. Carbon fiber guitars and aluminum guitars still need to be engineered properly. The close carbon fiber guitars that I have the travel one and the full size one. They're fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them. They're great, but they still do have carbon fiber. They still have truss rods in them because of the way the necks are designed. Now my McPherson's, the necks are engineered to not have truss rods, and they do not move under any tension circumstances. You could go from 13s to 8s and the guitar will not move. You know, when you put a new set of strings on a guitar, let's say you can do this on a McPherson. No other guitar have I ever owned that you could do this. You put the E string on and you tune it to pitch. Okay. And then you take all the other strings and you put them on and you tune them to pitch. And then you go back and check your E string and it's flat, right? Because it's like pulled the guitar in a little bit. Not the McPherson. The low E is still in tune. Like, it's so stiff. And it never, ever, ever moves. So all of these things are subject, and this is why we talked about this yesterday. All of these things are subject to how the guitar is designed. Also, the quality of the wood. Cheaper guitars, and I hate to even bring this up, but your $200 guitar from Harley Benton or an Ibanez AX120 or any of that stuff. One of the reasons they're cheaper is because the wood is cheaper, and the reasons the wood is cheaper is because there hasn't been as many hands on it, which means the drying process and all that stuff has not been exactly the same. So therefore, that's why you can end up with fret sprout easier and that sort of stuff. That wood's going to move around a lot more. If you buy a PRS or a McPherson or something that actually costs some money, the guitar is going to be much more stable because they've taken the time to actually dry the wood out properly, get the humidity down to, 5 or 8% or whatever that they try to get it to. So it's going to be a lot more stable. So a lot of the things that you're paying for, and this is an interesting one too, a lot of the stability and stuff that you're paying for with a better guitar has to do with all of that design, not just they're trying to bend me over because the guitar costs $2,000. There's more hands that were on that guitar to do that. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's see. I want to use 8s. My guitar has a quarter sawn neck and a carbon fiber reinforcement. My neck is very stiff. I don't think 8s will provide enough tension to flex the neck. You don't want it to flex the neck. You want it to be flat. There's no need to flex anything. This is another misconception. And we're going to do a whole video on setting your truss rod flat, but just take the strings off the guitar. Well, nah, not really. Put the 8s on the guitar and set the thing flat, 100% flat. Set it at 60 thousandths, set it at 20 thousandths at the nut. With 8s, the guitar will be fine. 100% fine. It won't buzz. It'll play great. It'll be low enough. It won't make any noises. The only thing is, going down to 8s, you may get some plinky stuff on your nut because your string slots will be really, really wide compared to your 8s. But yeah, you don't want flex on your guitar at all. You want it to stay flat. That's the whole point of having a truss rod. So I would not worry about a guitar not having enough tension, because it will have tension. Even 8s will have, 90 pounds of string tension, which is tons. That's plenty. Are you going to need to put any positive tension on your truss rod? Maybe not. Maybe you're just going to set it flat, that's what I would do. Set it flat, and it probably doesn't need a bunch in it. And it'll probably be totally fine. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with some of your questions here. See if there's any questions and whatnot. Oh, sorry, we got a super chat. My bad. From Doug. Like buying a used 10 top with dead strings. Well, that sucks. Yeah. Used guitars are always kind of like that, though, aren't they? Thanks for the super chat, Doug. Let's see. Yeah, the guitar setup thing's pretty interesting. I may be buying a new guitar that does not have a truss rod. I wonder what that would be if it's not a McPherson. Because McPherson's the only one I can think of right now that's new that does not have a truss rod. And it is phenomenally good. That guitar is freaking great. I love it. Let's see. Yeah, so that people were asking last night, they're like, I can't believe that guitar shipped with 8s on it. The gentleman who bought that guitar and had it shipped here had them set it up with 8s on it. I'm going to do a video on the Sweetwater setup, whether that's good or not, or whether it's worth doing, because they will do that for you. I change a guitar over to 8s for fun. I would do it. I always tell people that. You know, that Les Paul's got 8s on it now, and I was playing it last night and this morning, and I'm like, it took me 20 minutes to just kind of get a, when I first pulled it out of the box, you could tell in the video, I was like pulling chords out of tune, with it. But I think the people that say I can't do blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they can't. Well, you know what? If you took the time, you could, and then you wouldn't be one of those guys that says you can't. Basically, you're just too much of a ham-fisted moron if you can't play 8s. That's the way I was. I couldn't play them. I was like, this is dumb. The first time I did a video on 7s and 8s, I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to leave these on this guitar. It was a Telly. I'm going to leave these on this guitar for a month, and I'm going to play it a little bit every day, because it wasn't my main guitar. It was just a guitar I had. And man, it teaches you so much. It teaches you that you're a ham-fisted moron. That's what it does. And you're like, if I played with a little lighter touch, I would be faster. I would play better. I would be like, you know what I mean? Like, it just teaches you a whole nother skill. And you're like, okay, I guess I have the capability. I am a human being. I could not be a ham-fisted moron if I just took the time to do this. And it really helps. It really helps. And then I picked up that guitar last night. Same thing. You saw it in the video. I was like pulling some chords out of tune, but I gave it 20, 30 minutes, and I was like, oh yeah, I actually really like this. I like this guitar with 8s on it. It feels really good. And it's a 24/7/5 scale, so it's pretty short anyway, right? But I mean, yeah, it was great. I don't know why I don't have more guitars with light strings on them. I have a bunch of guitars. I should put a couple of guitars with light strings on them. It's interesting. Like, it's yeah, I think it's so cool. Rusty Shackelford, you have a light touch that's bad for higher gauge strings. All right, so that's cool. So you have a light touch. Yeah, I have a friend who plays 8s on everything, and he's the fastest player that I know that lives in our local area. He's really, really good. He can play anything, and he went lighter and lighter and lighter just because it got better and better and better for him. And so I think he plays 8s now. and you watch him play, and it doesn't even look like his hands do anything. They just kind of move, and a whole bunch of notes come out, And here we are. And the thing is, people will say, well, light strings don't have as much tone. If you suck, you don't have as much tone too. So the guys that I know that play light strings have fantastic tone. You know why? Because they practice having light strings and they don't suck. If you suck with light strings, your tone sucks. That's all there is to it. There's no, we could go all down a rabbit hole about magnetism and the dipole moment of the diameter of a smaller string and blah, 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 all that stuff. But the bottom line is, if you can't get tone out of eights, it's because you suck with eights. And you have to make the choice. I'm not saying you're always going to. I'm not saying a bad thing about a person. So calm down. What I'm saying is, I think everybody sucks with eights until we take the time to get better at them and understand how to play them. That's all there is to it. Once you take the time and you're like, oh, I could play this just like any other strings, then it makes sense. It's not the strings' fault. It's not the strings' fault at all. I slam my chords, dude. So I play tens on my juniors because I have a double cut junior and I have an SG junior, and those have tens on it. And I have thought about putting 11s on it for that reason, because that's like those are like my punk rock guitars. I had nines on my yellow one, and it wouldn't work. I played that guitar too hard. But that's an interesting thing too. And I wish people would think about this more. Every guitar is different. Play them differently. Allow each instrument to bring out in you what that instrument is meant to bring out. I think too many people are like, I don't know if it's like too selfish or too egotistical or what, but like, I need to make this guitar do what I want it to do. Why? Like, if you have a Strat and you have a Telly, play them different. If you have two Tellys and one's set up a certain way and one's set up another way, play them different. Like, with one's 8s on it and one's 10s on it, just play them different. Why do you have to have everything exactly the same? This is why I cannot stand people. I cannot stand the entire guitar community who goes on and on and on about comparing. This is my real issue with Tonewood arguments. It's not whether it makes a difference or not. It's that it doesn't make a difference. I mean, who cares? And I mean it, and it doesn't make a difference as in, who cares? Like, why do you have to have, why are you comparing it? If this piece of wood sounds different than this piece of wood, okay. I mean, black looks different than white. That's on purpose, right? Like, I don't care. And so I don't understand. I don't get that whole granular level of looking at stuff. I look at everything more like a holistic thing. Like, I have this guitar. This is the sound it makes. Okay, well then that's the sound. That's what I'm going to use it for. Is that? I can't get a particular sound out of a particular guitar, so I don't buy it. Ibanez Gem, for example. I bought one. I had it for a while. It's just not my style of thing. I don't get anything out of it that I enjoy, so I sold it. It wasn't like I need this guitar to sound like this other guitar. It's just I couldn't feel inspired by it. And I like pink guitars. Doesn't matter. Like, all that stuff just doesn't matter. Like, just allow the guitar to be itself. And I think you'll be a better guitar player. I feel attacked. I'll play the same A minor riffs even on my nylon string guitar. Dude, I mean, you're looking at Mr. Same riffs for 10 years on YouTube guy. So, like, don't allow me to judge you on that. But I do that on purpose too. That's like a test thing. If you were to come see, well, I'm not playing in a band right now, but the band I was playing in, if you were to come see us, it would be completely different than what you see on YouTube. Like, I don't play this music. I play something completely different when I play in person. Yeah. I'd die from embarrassment if I asked someone to change my strings. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't care. I don't care about that stuff. I just don't have an ego about that, I guess. I don't know. I like my different guitars to play and sound different. Yeah, me too. I think well, partially I literally play more acoustic than I do electric a lot. Especially around the house. And I have, I don't know, 5 or 6 acoustic guitars, and I play them all differently. They sound different. They feel different. They do different things. And with acoustic guitars more than electric guitars, I let them be what they're going to be, and whatever comes out comes out. And I really, 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 really like that. Sometimes it's not immediately apparent what your guitar wants to be at first. It takes time to figure it out. You know, there's been a few guitars that I've had that I didn't even, the American Silver Sky, the first one I bought, the Midnight Rose one, I didn't even like that guitar. I pulled it out of the box and I was like, this neck sucks and it's whatever. Like, I just had a whole bunch, like, man, this thing is expensive and it just doesn't even make sense to me. And I was like, I'm going to play it for whatever the return policy was, like, 2 weeks or whatever it was. And then I'm going to decide. I fell in love with that guitar to the point that the day I sold it, I knew I was going to get another one. And I got another one. But sometimes they take a while, man. I loved my Les Paul right away. I loved my Telly right away. I loved my PRS Fiore right away. My Yellow Junior took a while. And I think it's because I had 9s on it when I got it. Or I put 9s on it because we were testing some stuff for String Joy. And I didn't really bond with that guitar right away. Mostly because I'd been playing my Gibson Junior and I really like my Gibson Junior. And they're 2 completely different guitars. The neck profiles are really, really different and they just feel different and stuff. Wildly different. So they're, getting used to one versus getting used to the other is kind of tough, but yeah. And I need to see if I got a text message back. I actually put a order in. Well, I didn't finalize the order, but I texted Texas Toast Guitars and I was like, hey, I want to buy one of your level 1 Challengers. So I'm hoping to buy one of those. I'm pretty excited. I'm not pretty exciting. I'm excited about getting a Texas Toast Challenger level 1. My Strandberg took a while to get used to. Yeah, because that's a wacky guitar, right? Those are super cool. I've actually been thinking about buying one of those. I don't know why. I just kind of want one. They just look cool. The only problem is I am so thick on guitars right now. I need to sell my Silver Sky SE, the purple one back there. That one right there with the maple neck. That guitar is for sale if you know anybody that wants one. I'm I'll make you a deal on it. I just want to get it out of here. I just don't have room for it. So, because I've literally got guitars sitting around, hanging at like parts, just stuff's just everywhere. We just have too many guitars right now. So I'm just trying to thin down, and that one is the first one to go because I just got my American Silver Sky, so I don't really need it anymore. But yeah. Yeah, those Do It Dylan, they're awesome guitars. Yeah, I want to get one. One of these days I will. It's been interesting to see how guitars react in live situations, especially acoustics. Taking a new guitar out for a 3-hour noisy pub gig soon gets you acquainted with what it can do. And sometimes, to your point, it can be a little scary, especially with an acoustic guitar. Electric guitar is no big deal because you can kind of just it's kind of funny, right? I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you get an electric guitar and you take it out to a gig, you can kind of keep it in the middle. Like if you haven't found your perfect tone with it that you really, really like, that really makes that guitar special to you on the first gig, you can get kind of your middle of the road. It just sounds like you always sound kind of sound out of pretty much any electric guitar. Like I can go play a gig with any guitar, it doesn't matter, and it'll be fine, and it'll sound like punk rock, and it'll sound like me, and that's what I need it for. It'll take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 gigs of messing around at home to get it to be what I really, really want it to be, right? But you can still do it. Sometimes an acoustic guitar I've taken out and played acoustic gigs and been like, this guitar just sucks. Like I cannot get anything good out of it. And it takes a while. Or sometimes it won't work in a certain room. There's a couple of rooms around town that I will only play one of my acoustics in and not the other ones. Because the room's a certain way. So you have to like find that, you know what I mean? But for me, I think acoustic guitar or electric guitars, you just kind of can play whatever you want to play until you spend the time and really get them zoned into what you want out of them. Let's see. Just checking to see if there's any other comments in here. Yeah. What do you think causes that in acoustics? The room itself or how the guitar reacts to the room? I think so. It could be, first of all, it depends how good the PA is. It depends how good you're isolated from the PA. It depends how good the room is, and it depends on the guitar. If you have a really boomy guitar that does not have flexible EQ within the pickup and stuff, sometimes it can be harder to use it in certain places. Sometimes the guitar sounds good just straight out, but sometimes the frequencies that the guitar makes don't complement the room, and it will turn into a mush unless you can, play with it at the mixer or whatever. There was one place, it's actually my favorite place to play around here, that I used to play a lot, and they had a really bad PA system, and I hated playing my acoustic guitar there. Then they got a good one, and it was great. And the monitoring situation changed, and it was great. And it was like the guitar didn't change. It was just the way it sounded in the room, and you couldn't get it to sound how you wanted it to sound in the room, especially with an acoustic guitar, because your vision of this is the interesting thing about, because acoustic guitars and electric guitars are not the same. The way they make sound is, it's a completely different science. So your expectation of what an acoustic guitar sounds like, there is an expectation there. With an electric guitar, there's no expectation, because the way you make sound is 100% created with electricity. When you use an acoustic instrument, you are still moving air to create the sound, where you're not doing that with an electric guitar. So the physics are completely different. Which is something that people don't realize, but an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar are two different instruments. They resemble the same. They both have 6 strings and they both have 21, 22, 24 frets. But beyond those two things, they do not make sound the same way. They do not make, the science is totally different. Everything is completely different. And most things outside of the playability of the instrument cannot be crossed over the same way. Yep. Do you feel like you love your guitar, but the rest of your rig feels not up to a so-called sound you want? Love the guitar, but something is dragging. No, I like the stuff I'm using right now. I'm really happy with what I've got right now. Of course, there's always something out there that's really cool. But I actually really like what I'm using right now. And I think partially it's because of the situation that I'm in. I can't play loud right now. So I have to play direct. Or to stereo monitors, or to a USB interface, or to, right? So I have all of my amps are, have that capability. Now I have a tube amp that does it, and I have a Princeton Tone Master, and I have a Tone X, and I've got some other stuff, and all that stuff works, and it all sounds awesome. I really like it all. The only thing, my pedal game could be up a little bit, but I also don't really care that much, because I don't use that stuff that much. Let's see. Bad amp speakers can bring down a... Oh, dude, that's for real. That is 100%. Yep. Yeah, I totally get it. Everybody's talking about Strandbergs and a Bossies. You guys are talking about some cool guitars, man. PRS CE24 SE Swamp Ash Special, or the SE Quilted 24. I have not seen those. I did see that new, whatever it's called. It's the Fender Acoustasonic thing. Fender's banging this week, because they came out with the Tone Master Pro, which is kind of their Kemper, which is interesting. I'm curious to see that thing and hear it. Steve Sterlacci's got one. I should text him and see what he thinks of it. Or just watch this video, I guess. And then the other thing is that whatever it is, it's like an Acoustasonic thing, but it looks like an acoustic guitar, and it's made to play live. I think that thing's going to be the bomb when people actually get over themselves and realize that it's cool. Same thing with the Acoustasonic. The Acoustasonics are amazing instruments for what they're good at. We're talking about kind of a do-it-all live instrument right now that the room doesn't care about, that whatever. Acoustasonic is the jam. Those things are freaking amazing. So this new thing that they've come out with, I think it will be an absolute hit for people who actually want to play live and gig acoustic stuff and not have the headaches and not have egos about what their guitar should be. That guitar is going to be really good. Hard to tell from YouTube videos, but so far, yeah. We were joking, me and me and Matt and Chris at Texas Toast last week, we were joking that we should put like some kind of stamp on our products or some kind of sticker on our products that says like iPhone speaker approved, or like optimized for iPhone speaker. Like my P90s are optimized for iPhone speakers, because everybody just listens to crap through smartphones and tablets and stuff like that. So yeah, Dylan Talks Tone pickups, dylanpickups.com, optimized for iPhone speakers. Just as a joke, because that's the only way people hear stuff. Yeah, Acoustasonics are made for electric guitar players, and the new models are aimed for the acoustic player, and both are pretty neat. I 100% agree. I think those things are going to be really good. I think people are going to. I don't know how much they cost. Probably be $1,500-$1,800 maybe, or maybe 2,000. I don't know. I didn't look into them that much. I just saw the videos. Who is the contact for Filtertron? I don't. That's. I mean, TV Jones, I guess. I don't know. in in all fairness to me, I do have a stereo system I play YouTube through. I do. I have studio monitors. That's what I use. I have those JBL 305s or whatever they are. Yeah. So I have studio monitors too. It's just a joke because you have no idea. Well, maybe you do. If you lurk around in the comments, you have no idea how many people are like, I can tell between the difference between these two. And I'm like, dude, you're listening on a friggin' iPhone. Like, you cannot. Calm down and just enjoy playing stuff. There's a reason why people don't like me, but whatever. I don't care. Let's see. You ever play in Eastwood? Yeah, I played them. They're nice. They don't excite me at all. I don't really care about them that much. I don't know. This is an interesting. Okay, so first of all, people are going to be like, well, you don't like them because they're made in China. So I don't typically gravitate towards Chinese made stuff. If I can help it, but it's also not an on purpose. It's not like I avoid. I don't do it on purpose. I don't have like a, if I have this ProTech Malibu in my hand and if I have a Chinese version of it, I'm gonna buy the ProTech, right? I'm just going to. I'm just gonna. Sometimes it's that. Most of the time with guitar stuff, when I'm in a position, and I think this is it's probably first world problems, I guess, but when I'm in a position to basically go to sweetwater.com and order whatever I want, within reason, I can't afford a custom shop Gibson or whatever, but like, I'm going to buy the thing I want. It doesn't necessarily matter where it's made, but if it doesn't, it's got to I have to be excited about it. I'm not going to be excited about something. I'm not going to buy it. If I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to buy it. Eastwood guitars don't make me that excited. When I know I can go buy an American acoustic guitar that I really, really like, or I already have an American acoustic guitar that I really, really like, I'm not going to go buy an Eastwood just to say I have one. And I think people misunderstand me quite a bit on that stuff, but I'm also not. That's why I don't buy the cheap guitars. That's why I don't buy Harley Benton's and Sires and all that stuff. I just don't care about them. I don't. Some of it I do have principal issues with, but for the most part, somebody hit me about making a copy of something and IP and whatever about it because we made a Strat. Oh, we also have a Dylan Custom Guitars Strat that I built last week when we were in Colorado. If you're interested, it's like a 57 spec. It's really sick. It's $2,600. That's for sale too. It's a new guitar. Nobody's ever played it. It's a new guitar. People really misunderstand me about that stuff. I just like what I like. And if I don't care about something, if it doesn't like bing on my radar, then I just overlook it. I don't waste time on stuff I don't like. And people have tried to hold me to some sort of responsibility because I'm a YouTuber. Well, I'm not. I'm a guy with a camera. I don't consider myself one of those YouTube reviewer guys or whatever. I don't care about all that stuff. I just make videos I want to make. And I only make videos that I want to make. I don't like making videos. If I don't want to make the video, I don't make it. You guys have no idea how many times I have started a video because somebody told me I should make it, and then I just ditched it because it was dumb. It just felt stupid. I just hated doing it. I didn't want to do it. So I don't make it. That's why I've been doing it for 10 years. It's also why I don't have 2 million subscribers. It's also why I can't make a living on YouTube. Because we don't make a living on YouTube. So that's also why, because I only make videos that I want to make. I only play guitars that I want to play, and I only buy guitars that I'm curious about. And if I'm not curious about them, I don't buy them. And if I'm curious about them, and I also don't buy them if I'm not pretty sure I'm going to like them. If I'm pretty sure that I won't like it, I won't buy it at all. And then people will say, well, you've only had the Silver Sky SE for a couple months. You must not like it. No, it's just because I have too many, and we want to freshen up the bunch so we can keep having cool content. That's really why. If you see a guitar for sale from me, it's not because I didn't like it. I just need something new because it would get boring around here if it didn't. And I also do it because I can. Which I realize not everybody can, but not to get super philosophical here, but why would you do something you don't want to do? Given the choice. I think more people should go out of their way to do stuff they want to do. And if you're doing something you don't want to do, go in a dark room, turn all the lights off, and think about what you want to do. And tomorrow, when you wake up in the morning, take a little step toward doing what you want to do. You're going to be happier. And that's all I do. Every day. Every day I get up and do something that I want to do. And it didn't happen overnight. I've been working on this since I was 17 years old. I started my first business when I was 17. And by the time I was 22, I knew that I was going to continue to do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to do anything else. And I've starved, and I've almost lost everything a couple of times. And I've never starved, but I've almost lost everything a couple of times. I've started over. So it takes a while, but all of that to say, I'm going to play the guitars I want. I'm going to make the videos I want. And I hope you enjoy the content when we do, because I'm happier and I enjoy making the content more when I actually like making the videos. So it's kind of fun. What advice could you give a drummer moving to guitar apart from practice? Don't forget your ability to know timing. Take that with you. because a lot of guitar players suck at that. And yes, that's very, very cool. I like that a lot. All right, you guys, it's 5 o'clock. We usually go for an hour here on Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. This has been great, and we will see you. We might have a video tomorrow. We're probably going to have a video on Friday. We're making a bunch of stuff. I've got a bunch of cool ideas. I think you're going to dig it. We have those 2 guitars for sale. Hit me in the chat on the website if you want to know about it. And other than that, we'll see you probably on Thursday.